There is no way that this just happened, as the Toronto Blue Jays get no hit in the fifth game of the season against a pitcher who has less than 60 major league innings. And the Astros, who are 0-4, get their first win against the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to break down whatever tonight was and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? Nick Gosse, your host of Jays Digest, and if you're watching this video, you probably most likely just saw the disaster class that was the Toronto Blue Jays just getting no-hit, destroyed by the Houston Astros. And coming into this game, the Houston Astros were 0-4. They got swept by the fellow rival New York Yankees pretty dominantly, and we were thinking maybe this is the perfect time that the Toronto Blue Jays finally get to play a team that is ice cold, that isn't hot whatsoever, who's not hitting very well at all. Coming into the game, you saw all these players with their OPS plus his OPS average, everything was so low because of how poor their start was, and we get no hit and lose 10-0. We're going to try to break down whatever this game was. Before we do, a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button if you enjoy the Daily Jays content. Obviously, today's game was very, very bad. I'm not going to overreact to it too much. It obviously is just the fifth game of the season, tons of season left. The season isn't over or anything like that, but quite frankly, I don't know what I just saw. It's kind of funny almost to a degree. We saw Bowden Francis get his first major league start, which I actually have a lot to discuss. He actually pitched okay despite some... He did not pitch okay, but there were some decent flashes there. And the offense was the offense, and I don't really know. I mean, coming into this game, the kind of storyline was Bowden Francis' first start, and the Houston Astros being ice cold against the New York Yankees. Yordan Alvarez has started off the season poorly, Bregman poorly, Chad McCormick poorly. Everyone was hitting so poorly, even Jose Altuve. No one was getting runs on the Houston Astros team, and you were coming in, and then Blanco, who coming into this game had minimal, he's 30 years old, I believe only 8 career starts leading up to this point, and now today was his 9th, was a no-hitter, was kind of a question mark. Obviously, you have Framber Valdez going tomorrow, so we're thinking that's going to be the big matchup for the Toronto Blue Jays and the big challenge, and they get no hit. I mean, I'm going to show you all the box score. Usually, we split it up between the hitters and the pitchers, but no hits. George Springer had 2 walks. George Springer was the only one who really did anything positive on the base pass. And fun fact, obviously, if you watched the game, or in case you didn't, the first hitter of the game, which was George Springer, he got walked by the Astros pitcher, by Blanco. So without that walk, and obviously watching it later, he could have been flirting with a perfect game. But unfortunately, fortunately for the Toronto Blue Jays, he ultimately walked twice and didn't get a perfect game. But you're looking at the plate approach from these guys, and there's obviously some things to be concerned about. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I don't know why it only says 1 at bat, and Bowden Francis has 0 innings pitched. The box score there is a little bit glitched, but Bowden went about 4 innings, and you had Genesis Cabrera give up a ton of runs. Even the box score is glitching out because of how bad the team was today. But Genesis Cabrera gave up a bunch of runs. Bowden Francis got a bunch of strikeouts, I believe 5 or 6, but gave up a lot of runs. He did not give up... He got 7 strikeouts there, and he had 7 earned runs, so he obviously wasn't very good whatsoever. IKF was the only guy who threw a scoreless inning in today's game, I believe, or didn't give up a run, I should say, in today's game. And IKF came in the 9th inning, or the bottom of the 8th inning, when they were up 10-0 because of that new rule. But you're looking at the hitters, and the approach was very, very different. Obviously, no, they were chasing outside. He had the changeup working, he had slider working. Blanco had every single thing working. His fastball was electric, but you were deviating. The Toronto Blue Jays were deviating on that changeup and slider. They were deviating on the pitch. I think it was a slider he was throwing. I was barely even... You would see the ball coming in, and you had no faith that any of the guys in the team were going to hit his fastball, any of his pitches. But they didn't, and they ultimately got nothing done out of it. Biggio hitless, Kiermaier hitless. Obviously, everyone was hitless, and Dalton Varsho specifically, a lot of uncompetitive at-bats. I mean, Vladdy also he went 0-4 with 3 strikeouts. Like, no one was really performing to their ability today, and the big concern going in, the first game this season, the offense was phenomenal. The next 2 games against the Rays, the offense was completely terrible. 4th game against the Rays, the offense was great and exploded, and then you go today and you get no hits. There has to be some sort of consistency. Obviously, it's early in the season, but they could go tomorrow against Framber Valdez and hit for 10 runs, 9 runs, 8 runs. It could easily happen. If they go out tomorrow and score 7 runs, you're going to be wondering, where was that yesterday against a pitcher who really has not been playing much in the major leagues and has minimal experience up until this point. And that's kind of the concern here, is that not necessarily the result. I mean, obviously getting no hit in the 5th game of the season is about as bad of a result as you can get, but just the process was a little bit off today. Swinging at pitches, Dalton Varsho is swinging at pitches above his head, below his knees. He has looked very bad, quite frankly, to start the season. coming off of a very good spring, which showed lots of encouraging signs, and obviously he's there for his defense. But if he can't start to hit the ball at all, if he continues to hit this poorly like he did last year, I mean, obviously that trade is looking a little bit worse if he doesn't ultimately do it. I think Varsho will come around, but he's going to have to start hitting the ball to some degree. And then other than George Springer, who had an okay game, IKF played very good defense and pitched as well. So shout out to IKF. The player of the game goes to IKF for pitching a scoreless inning and playing great defense, but no one got a hit. I don't even know how to even describe. I mean, you look at it here, 9 innings. I mean, congratulations to Ronel Blanco for getting a no-hitter, the 17th in Astros history. I mean, give him props. He looked electric. Shout out to him. Being able to do that at 30 years old and coming into the MLB. The Buck Martinez was telling you about his story and his backstory, and it was great to hear. It was very touching and very good that he got to this point now, so shout out to him for the no-hitter. But, I mean, if you're a Blue Jays fan like us and like myself, I mean, it was brutal. And Bowden Francis, he did have 7 strikeouts, and he did give up 7 runs. We saw he gave up a bunch of home runs. But the silver lining here is that if he can figure out his location, and to be honest, the Astros were hitting some incredible pitches. They were hitting home runs up and in, everywhere, hanging curveballs. His location wasn't as good as we would have wanted him to be. If Bowden Francis is able to locate better, his fastball was electric. It was 96 miles per hour. His curveball looked very good when it was located. But then if he leaves it hanging, that ball is going to get crushed by major league hitters, especially against the Astros team, who obviously was not very, or is very good offensively, even though they haven't shown it so far this season. But Bowden Francis showed some things. He did get 7 strikeouts. That's hard to do. He had Jose Altuve, I believe, striking out 2 or 3 times, looking very foolish. And overall, he just looked bad because he gave up a ton of home runs, but if he can figure out his location, there's some stuff to work with there, and I think they do ultimately give him another start. I know they were talking, there's some people on Twitter and Jays Nation talking about maybe giving Mitch White to start while Alek Manoah recovers. Maybe they'll get Alek Manoah back and he'll start starting, but in the meantime, I think you give Bowden Francis a few more tries to get going and see if he can, get some more command of his pitches, because his stuff looks good. His stuff looks fairly electric, especially the fastball, but if you're going to be giving up home runs and your location isn't pristine, then ultimately it's going to be very difficult to succeed. And we saw it when your location is great, paired with great stuff like Blanco had tonight, then you'll be very, very good going forward. And ultimately, Blanco got the no-hitter. It's the same amount of strikeouts as Bowden Francis, but unfortunately for the Blue Jays, he gave up 0 hits compared to Bowden Francis's 10 hits, and it just wasn't great. It was very weird. And again, I'm still happy. Baseball is back. That's the main thing. We get to watch baseball every night. So, all those times in the winter when we were waiting for baseball had nothing to do on our nights. Baseball is back. That's a positive. And they play tomorrow. That's the beautiful thing about baseball. They can come back tomorrow. The goal coming into this series was a 2-2 split. That is still very doable. They need to go out and win the game tomorrow with one of our aces, Jose Vryonis, on the hill and on the bump. But to do that, the offense is going to need to lock it in, and that's something they were unable to do today. But that'll wrap up the video. I just wanted to get this kind of rant video out there. Just a very weird game. They got no hit. It's very unfortunate and a bit of a sad day to be a Blue Jays fan. But if you like our videos, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you want to check out a video from yesterday, click on your screen now. And hopefully the Jays don't get no hit tomorrow. See you then.